previous lecture, we asked the question, how are goods and services to be produced? And we said that it requires some available mix of resources or our factors of production. And we can divide our factors of production into 4 different categories here: land, labor, physical capital, and ideas. And these are the 4 categories that we're going to be working with in this particular chapter. We'll slightly open this up as the semester progresses. So here, what we want to go ahead and do is take a look at what each one of these factors of production entails and exactly what we need to pay in order to utilize each of these resources. And economics is just a little bit specific. It's a little bit anal about this type of stuff. So we do want to be really specific about what's included under each of these resources and also the payment with that. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at each of these factors of production. It's a little bit trivial for us to do in this particular sense, but it's always good for us to get some type of foundation. So this is exactly why we do it. Here, first we take a look at land. So in terms of land, what do you think is going to be included under land? Well, land is going to be, of course, the land in the usual sense. It's the land that you're sitting on or standing on right now. But there's also a second component that we shouldn't leave out, and that's where the natural resources come in as well. So land includes natural resources and land in the usual sense. And land in the usual sense. So here, land in the usual sense, the physical land that you're sitting on or standing on right now, and natural resources, so things like rivers, air, minerals, natural gas, those type of things. Those would all be considered some type of natural resource. And in order to utilize land, we also need to make some type of payment to it. So what do you think we have to pay in order to utilize or use land? The specific term for this is you have to make some type of payment in order to live somewhere. Here, in order to use land, you need to make some type of rent. So the payment for land is going to be considered rent. The second factor of production is going to be labor. So labor is exactly what you and I provide in terms of any type of production process. And this includes 2 things. It includes the mental and physical talents of people. Mental and physical talents. Of people. So labor, mental and physical talents of people. So what exactly do you know how to do? What is your exactly your type of experience? What is your knowledge? And also the physical talents, meaning exactly, hey, can you move this box from point A to point B? Can you do this physical task? That type of idea. In terms of labor, what do you think we need to pay in order to utilize labor? So the payment in terms of labor. This just tells us that, hey, if you work somewhere, you're going to receive some type of wage. So here, once again, we want to be specific. It's considered to be a wage, not necessarily a salary or anything else in that regard. So here, the payment for labor is known as a wage. Next is going to be capital, and we're going to say this is physical capital. Physical capital. There are other types of capital that we do take a look at, things like human capital and that type of thing. Here, we take a look at physical capital. So if we need to utilize some type of object or some type of tool in order to manufacture a final good or service that we're going to bring out to the market, that's going to be considered a piece of physical capital. So formally, this is manufactured products used to produce other goods and services. Other goods and services. So physical capital, manufactured products used to produce other goods and services. And depending on the type of situation that we find ourselves in, our pieces of physical capital can widely differ from one another. So suppose that we're working in a coffee shop, we could say that, hey, the espresso machine used to make the coffee is going to be seen as a piece of physical capital. So we need the espresso machine in order to make the final good, which is coffee. We can also say, hey, maybe the cash register, the computers there, those would all be seen as some type of piece of physical capital if you wanted to bring a cup of coffee out into the marketplace. And in terms of the payment for physical capital, this one's probably going to be the most unusual one out of the 4 that we take a look at. This is going to be some type of interest. So in order to utilize physical capital, we need to pay some type of interest. And the reason why it's called interest in this case is because typically firms and corporations, they don't have enough money on hand right away to buy a piece of physical capital outright. They need to go to the bank to take out a loan. And when you take out a loan on a bank, you need to pay some type of interest. And this is probably a little bit more relevant in terms of big pieces of physical capital. So like the tractor that you saw in terms of the previous slide. So if you're a farmer and you want to bring some crops out into the marketplace, you need a big tractor, and that tractor would be seen as a piece of physical capital, and you would need to pay some type of interest on that. Finally, our fourth and final piece of resource or our factor of production is known as ideas. So there's actually a few synonymous terms that can go with the fourth factor right here. So I'll go ahead and put them down for you guys. Here we can say it's entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship. It's also known as technology. Technology. And it's also known as ideas. So this fourth and final factor of production, we will be using these terms interchangeably, so do be aware of that. And essentially here, if we can't place it under physical capital, labor, or land, it's going to fall under this fourth component right here, entrepreneurship, technology, ideas. And essentially, they're the ones that are going to combine all the other factors of production in order to make these goods and services. So they are the ones that combines land, labor, and physical capital to make goods and services. So here, they take all the other factors of production, land, labor, and physical capital to make the goods and services that we want in the marketplace or in the economy. It's also important to note that the entrepreneur here, in this case, is the one that's going to be incurring the risk. Incurs risk, because there's no guarantee that any project that this entrepreneur is going to undertake is going to be a success. There's a very high chance that it could be a failure, so they are the one that incurs the vast majority of the risk. And in order for us to utilize this entrepreneur, this technology right here, or his ideas, we need to make some type of payment, and this payment is going to be called profit. So here, this entrepreneur is going to be incentivized by profits. So here we have the idea of these four factors of production. We have land, labor, physical capital, and this concept of entrepreneurship, technology, ideas, and each of them is going to be paid a specific payment. So land is going to be paid rent, labor is going to be paid wages, physical capital is going to be paid interest, and entrepreneurship, technology, ideas are going to be paid some type of profits. So here you have a better idea of the four factors of production, and we're going to see exactly how the right mixture of these resources right here is going to be placed into some type of production process in order to bring the good or service that we as citizens or consumers desire in the marketplace in the next video.